The St. Louis Blues fell again in another preseason game, and we have Joey of Locked On Stars to talk about what happened last night and previewing the Blues and the Stars for the season ahead.
Hey, this is Brayden Chen. Subscribe to Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to this crossover edition of Locked On Blues, Locked On Stars with Joey of Locked On Stars and myself, Haley Taylor, Simon of Locked On Blues, where we're going to go and preview the season ahead. We're going to talk about the Central Division, but the elephant in the room is last night's preseason game where the Dallas Stars were able to find victory over the Blues, which is honestly no surprise with how this preseason has gone for St. Louis. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Joey, last night's game was so Dallas dominated, and this honestly makes me really nervous and apprehensive about the season ahead going against the Stars.
Well, if you're a Blues fan, you do have to take into account that the Stars trotted out most of their lineup yesterday. So they had their big boys out there because head coach Glenn Gulletson wants to get a look at everybody, and they have to continue to learn some of the new systems he's trying to implement. So the big boys looked pretty good. But there were some young guys that I think made some great plays and probably did some great things for themselves to hopefully make this opening night roster. With Jamie Benn now down with an injury, he's out for at least a month. So that gives some young guys an opportunity to make the roster. And Dallas did what they needed to do last night. And it's always tough in St. Louis. I feel like that building gives Dallas some fits. I know it's just the preseason, but they got off to a quick start, which was nice. And they were able to shut it down from there.
Did Faksa really have to do that in his first time back to Enterprise Center? I mean, come on.
Yeah, man. Radek Faksa, I wasn't too thrilled about the signing. Then I'm watching him last night. I'm like, yeah, he's valuable, especially on that fourth line. And I mean, he almost had the game-winning goal.
Yeah.
In that series against Winnipeg, and he just fits in anywhere. And he's going to be a big part of this fourth line. And yeah, I guess he needed a bit of revenge.
He does step up when times are kind of getting a little bit tough sometimes. That's when you see Faksa really expand. But another player that I want to talk about is a player that has always been a problem for the Blues and is just a problem, in my opinion, in the NHL. And that is Jason Robertson. I mean, he is such a solid player. And last night watching him, it made me nervous. Now, I do know that he did have the empty netter. However, he still contributed a lot, right? We saw a lot from Tyler Seguin. We saw Wyatt Johnson. We saw a lot of the players that we're used to seeing step up, do really well last night. So do you think that last night's preseason game for the Stars was kind of just like a season preview, as you were stating?
Yeah, I would say it's a bit of a tune-up, and I think we're going to see a pretty similar lineup on Saturday in the final preseason game for Dallas against Colorado. And they look crisp. They looked like they had been playing together all summer, and there wasn't a lot of mistakes, and they continued to play really, really well together. So hopefully we can continue to see that, and they'll be ready to ramp it up. I mean, we're 9 days away now from the first games, which is crazy.
So I have some breaking news, and this
my
does
gosh.
involve everyone in the Central Division because the Oilers have acquired, and no, it's not Broberg or Holloway, Connor Ingram from the Utah Mammoth in exchange
Wow.
for future considerations. So the Mammoth, in my opinion, look a little bit less scary now, but I wanted to throw that out there because that's crazy.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's an in division trade too, or in conference. I guess I should say. Yeah. So well, I guess they have some
I'm
questions about
happy.
Stuart Skinner. Yeah.
No. But anyways, in last night's game, speaking of Edmonton, it's so funny how, I can talk about one thing and then it just manifests. But we saw goals. I mean, we saw a goal from Dylan Holloway. And then we saw a goal from Philip Broberg. And then we saw another goal from Dylan Holloway. And those are my guys. Those are the
Yes.
offer sheet kids. And as a Blues fan and as somebody that was really concerned about the health of Dylan Holloway due to him having to get surgery because his oblique kind of just slipped right off. It was disgusting when he described it. It's good to see him really show that he is back to himself again, showing that he is healthy. And Philip Broberg, he took a stupid penalty in the game, and I was getting frustrated. I'm not going to lie to you, Joey. But I'm happy that he was able to redeem himself. But it was a good night for the offer sheet kids. Now, I want to ask you, you saw in net last night at Joel Hofer. What do you think about him? I'm curious to get maybe an outsider's perspective on how you feel like he did it.
Yeah. Well, he was tested, especially early in that third period and first period. And credit to him, he did keep them in the game. I think the Stars did wreak some havoc in front of him, but I think I would say he's just a pretty solid backup, and sometimes that's all you need. I mean, we had DeSmith in goal, and man, that second period he was under siege. The Blues were all over Dallas in that first 10 minutes of the middle period. And DeSmith held in, and sometimes that's all you need out of a netminder. There was some rebounds he'd probably like to have back, and there were some chances that he gave Dallas second opportunities. So I'm sure as a Blues fan, you like to see him clean up some of those, because I mean Sagan's was a rebound, and there was a couple others where Dallas was able to win some of those battles in front. And Dallas got a couple lucky bounces, right? I mean, there was 2 pinball goals. Just thinking about it now, I mean, that's 2 goals right there that went off skates and deflections, and those are always tough as a netminder. But I guess as a backup, he did what he's supposed to do. Just kind of kept him in the game. And even once Dallas got up 4-2, you mentioned they get the Blues get one back, and they made it a bit interesting until, of course, the empty netter.
Yeah, until they didn't. Now, what I do have to say is, as an outsider for the Stars, watching Casey DeSmith in net last night, I was really impressed. I'm a big Jake Ottinger fan, and I've come on this podcast and I've said that. I've said that on the roundtables that you're not in because you're in the roundtables for the teams that are, expected to make the playoffs, even though we made the playoffs. But I am very vocal about that. I think that he should be the starting goalie for Team USA for the Olympics. And I'm just a hater of the other player that we don't like to talk about on this show. Because
well, I think we're going to be best friends then. Let's get on this hype train to have Jake Ottinger be the number one netminder.
I just don't like Hunter Hellebuck. I'm sorry, I don't, and it's not because of what happened with the Jets and the Blues. I just don't think that he has the consistency in the playoffs. And when you're looking at a goalie to be an overall good goalie, you need to have good track history in the playoffs. But the point is, I'm going to get back to Casey DeSmith. Last night, I was so blown away by some of the glove saves that he made. The glove saves are what's most impressive for me. I mean, Holloway had a couple one-timers that I thought were going to go in the net, and then you see Casey DeSmith just go up and just glove it down. And that gave me, honestly, another little ounce of, oh my gosh, the Stars might be a scary team this season. Because, again, when you have 2 solid netminders who are, in my opinion, obviously Ottinger is a starting goalie, but you have Casey DeSmith, obviously, on another team, he would be a starting goalie. That is very scary to me.
Yeah, he's really good. The Stars have been so spoiled with good tandems over really the last decade. I mean, think of Bishop, and they had Hudobin for a bit, and now you have Ottinger, DeSmith, and before that it was Ottinger Wedgwood. And the Stars just always have a good tandem, and that helps so much because they don't want to play Jake Ottinger 70 games or 65 games. They don't want to use him like a Hellebuck or a Vasilevsky in other places. So when they can give him rest, and if he does, since you brought up the Olympics, if Jake Ottinger does go over to Italy, he's going to go over there either way, you would think. Who knows how much he plays, but that's going to be a lot of travel for him in the middle of the season. So, coming out of that break, going into the break, they may need DeSmith to play some more games than expected, just to give Ottinger some rest and the jet lag going over to Italy and all that stuff. And I guess probably the best part is, especially in the modern day NHL, they got him for $1 million. So he's pretty cheap to have a really good backup goalie. Those don't grow on trees all the times, and the Stars are lucky for it.
No, they do not. Well, the Blues are now 0-4 in preseason action. And I know Dallas has a winning record. At least you have that in hockey, not necessarily going to have that in football. But
there was Stars fans that were cheering for them to lose at least one game, because usually it
yeah.
means bad things if you go undefeated.
Well, I guess for us, and it means that we're going to the cup in that
Yes.
instance. But coming up, Joey and I, we're going to preview the Stars and the Blues in the regular season when it actually matters and points actually can be given at the end of the game. So if you're somebody like me that's a little bit annoyed, this will hopefully make you feel much better, hopefully. But first, Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives like you and I. So if you put out organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. It can link all of your accounts in just minutes, see clear data visuals, and get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. For me, I personally like to have everything in one space. It makes it so much easier for me to keep track of. Plus, it ends up saving me money. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNHL. So the regular season, it's almost here, and I am so excited. A little bit apprehensive to get this thing going, but excited nonetheless. And we had a roundtable that will be released soon, by the way, on all the NHL Locked On networks on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure you check that out. But the question that we got asked, in I guess like the losers roundtable of the Central Division, was who do you see winning the Central? Who do you see getting that one seed? And I said so confidently the Dallas Stars.
Okay.
But here's the thing. I personally don't know if the Stars are going to win the cup. I said they would this upcoming season, but I say that like every season. They have so many good players, and they match up so well against the Blues. And even a few seasons ago, when the Blues had no business being in the playoffs, and obviously they didn't go to the playoffs, they still played pretty well against Dallas. And I
Yes.
feel like this is always a good matchup. Whenever you have the Blues and whenever you have the Stars, you're always going to see good hockey. So I want to ask you, what is your thoughts on when the Blues play the Stars?
Yeah, well, my first thought is oh Lord, we got to face Jordan Binnington again, who
Thank
always
you.
seems to play extremely good. And
I
I
have
really
a question,
like Binnington.
Joey. I'm going to stop you for a
Yes,
second.
no,
Would you
please.
say that Jordan Binnington, right now in the NHL, is the best Canadian goalie?
100%.
Thank you.
And I wanted to bring that up because since the Four Nations face-off last winter, he has been almost unbeatable, like
Yeah.
really, really darn good. And he deserves a lot of credit. I know he wasn't really playing to the heights of that 2019 Stanley Cup playoff run over the last couple of years. But once that Four Nations face-off tournament, he seemed to turn back into that son of a gun. So he's going to be a problem. And he's always been a problem for Dallas. I remember a couple of years ago when we had the season opener, it went to a shootout. And him and Ottinger were just dueling. So that's always my first thought. And the other is just they just seem to be a tough team to play against. And they've gotten better over the off season. Like you bring in Suter and Bukestad, you get a little strength down the middle. I've always liked their young core. I was really high on them last year. I predicted them to make the playoffs. And I'm a big fan of Kyrou. I think he's such an excellent player. He can be a star in this league, and his contract's pretty good as well. So I always like the Blues matchups. The Stars always are haunted by St. Louis in postseason memories. But
You're welcome.
They've had some success at least last year. They only played 3 times, which is a bit odd for being in the same division. But I'm looking forward to 2 teams, and I think a lot of people, you bring up the round tables, they seem almost higher on the Stars than maybe I am, and I think some of that is when we watch these teams all the time, day in and day out, I think we look for weaknesses more than we look for the positives. I don't know if Dallas is going to win the Central. I kind of see them around that 100-point mark. which I don't think would get the job done. At least history says that it won't. Just because I think with Golitzin, new coach, they're still trying to implement some things. And I think the Ben injury is significant to some degree. So they're going to have to weather a storm early on. And they got a tough schedule right off the bat. They got Winnipeg, Colorado, Minnesota. So, they could be below 500 the first 10 games and going to have to kind of get out of a hole. But hopefully it all evens out over an 82 game stretch.
And upcoming, we're going to talk about our central predictions, but kind of going back to the Blues and the Stars and kind of just, the battle between the two teams. I appreciate you giving credit to guys like a Jordan Kyrou and the young core. I mean, personally, I love Jake Neighbors, Robert Thomas, the list goes on and on. But when it comes to the Blues, one thing that they struggle in is defense. And this offense, they did acquire Logan Mailloux. Now, again, it's hard because we got rid of one of my favorites in Zach Bolduc, but you had to improve the defense. And finally, they were able to put Nick Leddy on waivers and say goodbye to him. So the defense has been an issue. And I feel like for Dallas, and especially watching last night's preseason game, you can tell that there's a huge difference with not only special teams, we're going to get into that, but also defense. Dallas looks so solid and strong. Now, I want to ask you, Joey, what would you say would be the biggest weakness right now with the Stars, position-wise?
Oh, that's left wing for sure, especially with the Ben injury. I mean, you have Jason Robertson, and then it's sort of a cast of characters like Sam Steele, who I really like. He's going to probably have to fill in on a top 6 role. And then you're asking a guy like Justin Ristkovian, who played last night. He set up one of the Sagan goals. He played last year in the AHL with the Texas Stars. And coming into training camp, there was really no spot for him to fill with some of the additions of Faksa and Bastion. So that would be probably my biggest weakness for Dallas right now. And they're gonna have to get some guys to be productive because they lost quite a few goals in the offseason, like Marchment and Dodonov, who are no longer with the team. They scored 40 plus goals for the Stars last season. So, Sam Steele, who I think his career high is 10 goals, is going to have to chip in. Then Ristkovian, it looks like he's going to start the year. This is going to be his first taste of the NHL. So they may struggle to score at times. They did last year, and they had a lot of good talent, and they struggled to score. So it's not going to be all sunshines and rainbows. But it does seem like for the time being, the defense is solid and stable. And I think that's more than you can ask for from the Stars right now after the last couple of years.
So I want to touch on Jamie Benn and the collapsed lung because obviously that was a big storyline in the NHL. And you brought it up very naturally. So thank you. That was actually my next question for you. What has it been like with the absence of Jamie Benn? I mean, I don't know if you're at practices or if you're around the team at all, but I mean, what's the vibe been like for Dallas fans?
Well, I'll say this. The Stars just, even in the few times he hasn't been in the lineup over the last couple seasons, and hasn't been very much. Whatever you think of Jamie Benn, like he's available.
He's always available.
He's always playing. But even it's weird to say, but I think it also shows how much of a factor he is. In the 2 games he missed last year because they just gave him some rest, the Stars just look different. They're not the same. And I guess it's to be expected when you have a guy like that that's been here for over a decade. He's been your captain. He's just been that leader. He has been that guy that does everything for you. And then when he's out, it doesn't seem the same. So I am fascinated. And that's probably one of my biggest questions going into the season is how's Dallas going to handle this? Because him as a player, we didn't think he's not going to have that much of an impact, at least not like he once was. Like he's getting older, and at this point, he's more like a bottom 6, 4th line checker, but he still can do so much for you off the ice. He can do so much for you in that leadership department. So I think it's going to be tougher than maybe we all think. I think they have good pieces to hopefully weather the storm. But as I said, it's just weird when he's not around. And I imagine it's the same way in the dressing room. Hopefully he'll still get to be with the guys and stuff. Last year when Sagan was out for the whole regular season, essentially, he was still with the guys. He was still he was still a leader within the dressing room, which is big. I would imagine you're going to get that from Jamie Benn, depending on how his rehabilitation process goes and all that stuff. I just know it's probably not fun to have a collapsed lung. It's a bit scary. So hopefully he has a quick recovery.
Awesome. And do you have any last minute pending questions about the Blues for this upcoming season that you think people want to know about?
Absolutely. I'm curious from a Blues perspective how Montgomery will get the most out of this crew this year, because I think Monty's such a great coach. What are you expecting? Kind of I guess it's kind of a full year too, and now it's sort of his team. They got some guys that they brought in. I guess, are you more optimistic about the Blues this year?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm more optimistic. I would say that there's goals and expectations that need to be met. And that was something that Coach Montgomery said from day one of training camp. That training camp, it sets the tone for the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
And the Blues going to the playoffs last year, they were a playoff team. And there's no doubt about it. They're a playoff contending team. Maybe not a cup contending team yet, but they are a playoff contending team. They have some of the best players in the league on that team. And if you're going to say no, they don't, let me remind you, Jordan Binnington and Robert Thomas and Colton Parayko will all be most likely on Team Canada for the Olympics. So yes, they do. Being said is Montgomery obviously was around the Blues in a different position years ago, so he is familiar with a lot of these players. But the one thing about Jim Montgomery is that he does hold the players accountable, but at the same time, it's not in a way where he's like bullying them and putting them down like some other NHL coaches that I have worked with in the past. He does it in a productive way. But there's no excuses this season. If this team doesn't go to the playoffs, the reality is they disappointed themselves. They disappointed the fan base. And I know that sounds tough, but at the end of the day, I see a lot of head coaches, I see a lot of players, I see a lot of fans make excuses for their teams not playing the way that they should be. Kind of like Nashville. They were supposed to be this really solid and strong team, and they ended up not being that. And all you're hearing is excuses. Maybe they didn't mesh well together. Okay. Well, you bring in players to make your team better. So with the additions that the Blues made with Suter, with Buxat, with even Mayu and Lucic with his professional tryout, it's to better the team. And he knows that. It's also Doug Armstrong, RGM's final year, his 15th season, final year of being GM for the Blues. I know that he did stuff with the Stars, but we don't count that. Being said, though, it's a really big season for the Blues, and it's a playoff or nothing season.
Okay. I like that. The expectations are high, so the boys better be ready. But hopefully they take the next – I mean – you have to feel good. Like you're 3 seconds away from moving on to the second round.
Actually, it was 1.7 seconds away.
Exactly. Even better.
And it would have been against you guys.
Yeah. And
we would have probably...
Haley, I'll be honest with you. I was frightened about playing the St. Louis Blues. I would have taken Winnipeg any day of the week because of Hellebuck and his struggles.
Yeah.
I did not want to play St. Louis, so I was honestly thrilled that matchup occurred.
It was really fast before we move on. I was actually live streaming myself to get my reaction for when the Blues advanced, right?
Oh, okay.
So I'm sitting in my bed. I have all my Blues gears on. My cat's with me. And all of a sudden you see me just being like, and then... And I did a 45-minute show afterwards live, which we usually don't do.
Yeah.
And the whole time I'm like, I don't know how to go to bed. I don't know how to process this. And it was really depressing. So we need to erase the past. But we haven't won a game since that. No, we lost that. Yeah, no, we have not won. We have lost all the preseason games. But one thing that we're not going to do, though, is be like the Nashville Predators and the Chicago Blackhawks and just be a team that's an absolute joke this season. So Joey and I, we're going to do some Central Division predictions because I always feel like it's really fun to talk about the teams that we're going to be facing the most. But first, my friends over at FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Every single week, I give you my picks. Last week, we had Dallas Goedert, anytime touchdown and Eagles money line, and I know I won you some money. So it is Wednesday, which means that you have one more day to wait before I tell you my Thursday night football predictions. So make sure to stay tuned for that. So get on the app, try a same game parlay because what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to win to win. Download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right. So, Central Division predictions. This is probably going to be such an ego boost for you where you're going to be like, oh my gosh, you think so highly of me. You already know I think you're going to win the Central. But I want you to tell me, who do you think is going to win the Central?
Man, I like Colorado this year. I think
Thank you
Colorado's
for
deep.
not saying Winnipeg.
Yeah, no, I don't. I've never bought into Winnipeg over the last couple of years. Although they were awesome last year, they
My
were
new best
stinking
friend.
good. But I
Joey
just have
Erickson.
I've always had a hard time buying into them. And Colorado, like, let's face it, they're deep. They got some of the dogs. They're going to be good. I think you could say the same about Dallas to some degree. They're both going to be kind of up there. But after that, then I'm looking at a team like St. Louis to kind of jump into that top three.
Really?
Minnesota, if they stay healthy, but that's always the question. Can they stay healthy? And they just lost Zuccarello for 7 to 8 weeks. And can they be as injured as they were last year? Probably not. They were the best team in the West, like I think early November until all the injuries started to pile up. But I just think they're gonna have some issues too with Zook out now, and they're gonna run into some issues too. I don't know if they are deep enough to kind of handle some of those. In St. Louis, I just think there's that young core. I've always loved Montgomery. I think he gets the most out of his team. As you said, like, he holds those guys accountable. I think the Blues can have a real shot at making it within the top three and make a run at it. But I would kind of put them in the Wild right there, sort of battling it out. Because Winnipeg's probably a wild card team. Like, just Jonathan Toews, like your 2 center, like your 2C. I don't know if that's going to work. I sound like a big hater right now.
Oh, wait,
but...
Joey. My guy, my new best friend. Wow, did we just become best friends? Yes, we did. I had Winnipeg as a wild card team, and everybody called me crazy.
It may be a hot take, but I think that's what I'm going to roll with when I do my official predictions.
Wow. See, my predictions went like this. Top 3, Dallas. You can't even see my fingers. I'm like, top 3, you can't even see. Dallas, Colorado, and Minnesota.
Okay.
Wild card 1, the St. Louis Blues. A little biased, but I do think
yeah.
that. And then wild card 2, the Winnipeg Jets.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Wild, if they stay healthy, and that's a big if, they're going to be such a scary team.
Yeah.
The Colorado Avalanche, they have too many good players. But overall, at the end of the day, and this is how I do my ranking sometimes, it depends on who's in net. And I've said this once, and I'll say it again, having a good goalie wins you a game.
Yes.
Because it goes back to when the Blues won the Cup. Jordan Binnington came in and replaced Jake Allen, and it was Binnington's rookie season, and he was lights out. So I think it just goes to show when you have a good goalie Tatum, you're going to be a better team. Now, Joel Hofer, who is our backup, he's younger, and, he really does look up to Binnington, and Binnington mentors him, and I've spoke to both of them about this. But at the end of the day, you would need 2 players that are kind of on the same level as Binner. And when I look at Dallas and I look at Jake Ottinger and Casey DeSmith, that separates them from any other team in the Central, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you could have one of the best starting goalies, but if you don't have a backup that could be on the same level, then I can't confidently say you're going to be the best team. Now, what I will say is this. It also matters, too, who your big guys on the team are. And, that's like your superstars in a sense, even though I think that you could actually be a better team if you don't have superstars. But, hey, just my opinion on that.
Yeah.
But I don't see Winnipeg having a successful season. I don't. And we also need to talk about some of the other teams. We hear a lot of chatter about the Utah Mammoth. Do you really think that this is a playoff team? Maybe I've heard a little bit too much from Robin and Tom doing some collabs with them where they kind of hype up the Mammoth, but I personally don't see the Mammoth being in the playoffs.
Yeah, not in the Central. I just think that's really tough because it's so deep. And I think it's pretty clear who sort of the 6, probably 4 or 5 teams are. And you went through them, like Dallas, St. Louis, Minnesota, Colorado, Winnipeg. So there's just not a lot of wiggle room for the Mammoth. And they got off to a really good start last year, but now they just traded their goaltender, as you brought up.
Yeah.
So they may be. They may be kind of reeling a bit right off the hop. Who's their backup? Oh, they have Melka, okay, and Vanacek.
Yeah.
So we'll
Yeah,
see.
but still, I mean,
But there,
Connor
that's
Ingram,
yeah,
like,
that's not
how?
Bennington. That's not a Notger. That's not Hell. But maybe it's unfair what we're saying about Winnipeg, just because Hellebuck's going to play 60 something games, and to your
I
point, like he can win games for Winnipeg, and maybe that's why they'll squeak into the playoffs. But I just don't think there's enough firepower up front for them to really give teams some issues. Last year, they were stinking good in the regular season, at least. Like that team just bullied Dallas. I mean, they bullied them in the regular season. The Stars obviously flipped the script come playoff time, but yeah, they were a bit bullies at times. So yeah, and I like Utah. I'd like to be bullish on them. It's just the Central seems so tough, and like it is. Nashville, they're not going to be as worse as they were last year, but are they really a playoff team too?
No.
It just they they were a bit older last year and whatnot. So yeah, I think it's pretty clear. There may be some levels to the Central Division.
It's funny because last year in the regular season, the Blues did take 1 out of 3 against Winnipeg.
Okay.
And I do want to say that Connor Hellebuck, and this is on the record because this happened, had to be pulled in every single game in St. Louis in the playoffs.
Yes. Yeah, he
So
was.
I'm just saying that, I mean,
I don't know what it is. He was the best goaltender in the world for 2 seasons, and
oh my
then
God,
just
you're
the
so good
postseason,
in
he's just
net. And then
gone.
it goes to the postseason. You're playing against the worst seeded team, and you have to be pulled all 3 games that you're away on the road. Like, it's a joke. It's really a joke.
And Radek Fox is sniping you in Game 7.
You, you know, that was one of the things that bothered me this offseason. I liked Faksa a lot. And I actually do hate that it's back to a Central Division team.
It just seems like whoever
He's back.
yeah, be
Congrats,
careful.
Stars. He's back home.
Be careful trading your players from a Central team. Somehow they find their way back on Dallas.
Every
It's like
single
Nico.
time. Every time.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy to me. It really is, because I'm like, oh, of course, it's back with the Stars. Like, it's like the inevitable. But this will be such a good season.
Mm.
And most importantly, I always need to ask whoever I do, the crossover with, who do you have in the finals and who do you have winning the cup?
Oh gosh, I don't think I've been asked this yet. So that's
Well, I'm glad I'm the
that's
first.
a great question. Yeah, man, I'm trying to go to my encyclopedia here inside the brain. Out of the West, I'll go with. I don't want to go Edmonton again. Although I
No.
probably like them. I don't want to do them again. Man, as much as I'd like to say Dallas, I honestly I don't see it. I'll go Vegas just for the heck of it. I hate saying that. I'm disgusted by it, Haley. I'm disgusted by it.
LTIR.
I'll go Vegas, and out of the East, why not? Let's go with the Hurricanes. They finally get over the hump. So why not? Let's do Hurricanes.
Yeah.
Hurricanes Vegas.
And who do you have winning?
I'll take Carolina. Why not?
Okay.
Make it an Eastern Conference team. So yeah.
I tell everybody this just so you know. In the
Yeah.
East, I actually do have the Canes.
Okay.
And in the West, I have the Stars, and I have Dallas winning the cup.
All righty. I appreciate that.
However,
that's been a popular pick, I feel like, over the last 5 years, the Canes and Dallas, but they never meet.
I want to see it so badly.
I think, yeah, it would be. And then you have Ranson, of course. You have Stankoven now.
So many
It'd be good storylines.
It's beautiful. Now, what I will say, I'm a little bit delusional. In the back of my mind, I'm always like, there's a chance the Blues could win.
Hey, why not? Hey, they can make. Hey, I'm telling you, if they made to the second round, there's a high probability they beat Dallas.
But the thing about Dallas is, and I need to tell you this, Joey, on record, they have to stop choking in the playoffs.
Yeah, the Western Conference Final, they've gotten bullied the last 3 years.
It's hard. But I remember when they played Vegas, and it looked like they had no life to them. And I
know
hate Golden Knights. I have a sweater actually, the Golden Knights, but it's for not because of that. It was a Marc-Andre Fleury. I couldn't get one. He was a Penguin. Whatever.
Yeah, they have just not shown. I think no life is a perfect way to put it. And they I mean, I hate to make excuses, but I mean, the first 2 rounds they've played over the last couple of years have been like Western Conference Finals-esque. Like when
Yeah.
they played Vegas in round 1 a couple of years ago when they were using that LTIR and they were an 8 seed.
Oh, that's why I freaked out and said
Yeah.
LTIR, because that literally impacted your team. And then you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I think it's gonna be the Golden Knights.
Colorado's incredible too. But this year they had no excuses. This past year,
And I think that
against
also,
Edmonton. So
and well, that's like the thing I think too with even Edmonton. It's so hard to get back once. It's hard to get
mhm.
back twice.
Yeah,
How do you do it 3 times? And that's going to be the biggest question that TSN is going to run all season, because again, they only care about one team, and that is the Edmonton Oilers.
yeah,
Um, so Joey, I'm so glad that we got to talk during the
yes,
season. You and I will definitely talk, but last night gave us a little bit of a preview of what we might see, even though I think the Blues are stepping up big time because we don't have
yes.
AHL guys. But again, thank you so much, Joey. Joey, where can people
Thank you.
find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Joy the Jet 19 on X, or you can just follow me at Locked On Stars. And of course, just like Haley, we are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. It was great chatting with you before the season. Good luck to the Blues, and yeah, we'll catch up soon.
Thank you. And guys, like always, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment down below on how you feel like the Blues and Stars will match up this season. And just like we end every single episode, 1, 2, 3, let's go Blues.